Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Joni Salzman.
Apple held its Worldwide Developer Conference on Monday, and while we saw a lot of new features, nothing really blew our minds. This was definitely a year when Apple was applying polish on its software as opposed to anything really jaw-dropping, right? So one of the most interesting things we wanted to talk about was this initiative to get you to use your iPhone less, which seems a little counterintuitive. There are new options for its Do Not Disturb app, as well as a new Screen Time app that gives you a weekly report on your usage. And most interestingly, it actually allows you to set allowances for your kids. And we're both parents, Joan. I know we're both parents of younger kids, but I mean, what do you think about this? Is this something that you see yourself using?
Absolutely, I'm going to use it.
For yourself or
for
just
myself,
for your daughter?
and as my kids become old enough to
Right.
become like destabilized by their phones, anticipating that that's definitely going to happen.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah, it will.
anticipating also being very grateful for some of these features.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how disciplined I will be on screen time, especially when if you set a limit. It's kind of interestingly, a warning will pop up if you've got 5 minutes left of your allotted time on, say, Instagram. I wonder if I just click like the ignore warning, just keep going, and just
It'll be interesting to see, yeah. And it's something that people that are Apple investors,
Yep.
the public has been really demanding of the company to do.
Yep, they finally got around to it. And it's interesting to know that this fall is what Google's introduced. They had a digital well-being app that's coming out for Android P, does a very similar thing, offers you sort of a status report on your usage. All right, so will Apple merge its macOS and iOS platforms? Well, I guess Apple answered, right? They said no. But
I said no!
no, in a giant screen.
They couldn't be more unequivocal no, but they kind of are.
They kind of, yeah. So they decided to bring, they're announcing that they're going to bring iOS apps to Mac next year. And it's really kind of the first hint that, yeah, these two platforms might be bridging, right?
Why do you think that because ultimately these are going to be, ultimately they will merge down the line. Do you think?
It seems inevitable, right? At
Right.
some point, it may be further down the line than they'd like to admit, but, Windows tried it. It didn't work out so well the first time around. They're still kind of working on it, but the idea that they all kind of work off the same architecture, the issue here is, iPhones and iPads run on a slightly different processor than Macs, and so bridging the two has been complicated, but they kind of have to, right? That's just sort of having one single consistent system. It seems like that's just so Apple, right? It's more, it's simpler. It's just easier for them to push one product.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so remember Animojis. After the first month or so, I stopped using them. But there's a new feature in iOS 12 to turn yourself into a Memoji, or an Animoji, a cartoon version of yourself. So forget about talking poop or being a fox. You can be a cartoon version of yourself. This is very similar to what Samsung introduced, AR emoji, which, Brian, I don't know if you can pick up, there's a nice, took one of my kid. That's it's a little weird. There it is.
Which doesn't look anything like.
No, it doesn't look anything like my son. But we'll have to wait until fall to see how the two stack up. But I don't know, they were a highlight of the fall announcement last year. What do you think of Memojis?
I'm disengaged with all these things, but I know that you've tried them out a lot more. You have,
Yes.
Yeah, you've got a finger on the pulse of.
Oh yeah,
all things.
Yeah, I am an Animoji pro. I use them religiously for about a month. My wife found them hilarious for a while, but then after a while, it just became too much trouble.
And that's the thing about they're just novelty. I think most of those things are just novelty, and the point of novelty is it doesn't last.
Yep. All right. For more on these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Joni Salzman.
Thanks for listening.
You want to try that one again real quick?
All right. For more on these stories, I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Joni Salzman.
Why did I just blank out there?
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
One more time for the recording.
For more on these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Joni Salzman.
Thanks for listening. No, the countdown clock went.
Did it go up?
It was going. No, I couldn't tell if I had ran out of time or if it was.
All right, I'll cut you slack on that one. We are out of practice.
Sorry,
but
sorry
Roger,
guys. It's been a long couple of weeks.
It has. But it's nice to be back with everyone here. How are you guys doing, for serious? Like, I haven't caught up with you in literally almost 2 weeks.
You and me?
Us, we're okay.
Are
Yeah.
you talking to our?
We're exhausted.
Perfect
I mean,
hands.
WWDC was, it took a lot out. We cranked out a huge amount of stories.
I ate 4 pieces of pizza.
You ate pizza. You ate 4 pieces of
I
pizza.
ate 4.
Yeah, wow, that's actually kind of impressive in itself. But yeah, it's we're good. I like to think we're good.
Yeah.
I have to make the obligatory crack that you guys said you mentioned something about a fox with the animojis, and I can't help but notice that what's his name, Craig, in the keynote. Is it Craig something?
Craig.
Oh,
Yeah,
Craig Federighi,
Yeah,
Silver
yeah.
Fox or whatever.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Is like he was a total silver fox.
He's silver, all right.
There were a lot of the hair jokes. There were plenty of hair jokes yesterday. It's a consistent theme throughout all Apple events. You got to have Craig Federighi hair jokes.
So while we wait for the chat to filter in, and go ahead and submit your comments and questions and what your takeaway from WWDC was and what your takeaway wasn't, let's go ahead and pontificate, if we will. Maybe we can editorialize just a touch. The one thing that I actually did think was kind of cool was the AR measurement app, but that's because
Right.
I'm in here doing the sets and working on all of our different layouts for the shows. So to have this virtual augmented reality measurement system that I can kind of catalog would be incredibly helpful to my workflow. What did you guys think was kind of cool? And don't say animojis or I'm going to kick you off the show.
Well, I'm guessing you've had thoughts about the Lego game.
Yeah, the
That was
Lego
cool.
AR game seemed pretty awesome. Like, yeah, I think I tweeted I can't wait for my kid to play with it. Of course, he's way too young to understand or appreciate
But no
any of
choking
it.
hazards with a
That's
AR
true.
game.
That's
right.
true. Although,
Same
yeah,
thing.
this is just an easy way to get my kid even more addicted to my phone.
But now Apple has all these features to help you with that addiction.
It's not gonna stop him from going nuclear once like that warning goes off. Like, you've got 5 minutes left. It's like, no more Legos, more train.
Are you sure you're not thinking of yourself?
Well, there's that too. No, I can actually click through the button. I'll just override the warning and be like, just keep on going.
Sorry, Apple.
I
outsmarted you
personally am very intrigued by the AR stuff. I thought the Lego demo worked out really well. They kind of had a nice I was actually really appreciated the background music. It was very like Disney-esque, very kind of whimsical.
Yeah.
It was kind of a nice break from all the kind of highly technical stuff that kind of bookended it. So I like the AR stuff. The measurement thing, I mentioned this to you before the show, Brian. That's been around for a while. Google Tango showed that off. The implementation was decent, but I always wondered if how accurate it really was, because you are kind of fully reliant on just this, your phone detecting it and kind of spitting out some number. And I was always a little like, is that the right number? What if they it glitched out somewhere and you were like an inch off on your measurements? Like, that would screw up, especially for you if you were building these sets. That would screw you up if you were just like a centimeter off, right?
True, but sometimes just having that little bit of estimate would be very helpful. Because, I mean, I have a tape measure around, I write stuff down,
Yeah.
but like if I'm on the fly just trying to eyeball something, to have an eyeball with a unit of measurement attached to it, even if it is flawed, would still be helpful. But this is a very specific instance, and I get that. But I'm excited to see AR actually do something helpful, besides just put Pokemon in my
Besides
living room.
catching Pokemon and little balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump into the chat. We got a good question from Vivek Kumar. Do you think Siri can now compete with Google Assistant? I guess we're all on the same kind of topic here.
Yeah.
And we did actually see a little Siri action in there. She continues to underwhelm.
Very little Siri action, I would say. Like, the shortcuts seem like it's kind of like a nice to have. I just don't think it really puts it on par with Google Assistant and Alexa. It seemed like that was kind of they were able to kind of build routine-like shortcuts, but it seemed like a lot of the shortcuts were just Siri offering you suggestions, or it seemed clunky. It didn't seem quite as intuitive as how Alexa and Google Assistant.
And in the case of Apple Watch, they're not cutting out Siri, but they're cutting out your acknowledgement of her. If you can just raise your watch and not have to say, "Hey Siri," then who are you really talking to?
Ooh, it's a good existential question.
Getting deep here, guys. We should take breaks more often. Here's a question for Roger from Kay.
Okay.
Do you think that Apple is focusing on stabilizing iOS?
I hope so. The Craig's comments about iOS 12 being more about performance, and the fact that it was less about big features and more about performance. I think that's sort of code word for fixing all the crazy bugs that have shown up on iOS 11. I don't know. I have an iPhone 10, as well as an iPhone 7. Both are on the latest version. Both are super buggy. Apps that pop up, or icons
half
that
screen and-
or icons that just sort of like gray out for some
Yeah.
reason. So it's been a buggy experience. So I'm hoping when they say performance, they're not just talking about things running faster, that
Better batteries.
better
blah,
batteries,
blah.
but also things running smoother and actually not glitching out. Yes, hopefully.
I liked in the presentation how everyone got really excited that Apple finally figured out how to change the color
Change the color.
Change the colors for...
on Mojave. That's one of their big things is like
to go dark,
night mode,
dark mode.
dark mode.
Yeah.
Ooh. Sorry, I'm probably being too critical, but it's just like, oh,
I mean,
come on.
It's a nice to have, but again, it's Now, there's nothing from yesterday's presentation really impresses that much. They're just sort of a collection of stuff. You're like, oh, that's cool, I guess. Yeah.
I guess.
Moving on.
And they continue to disappoint the audience as they made no mention of any kind of re-up for the iPad Air, as Thanasis is asking if iOS 12 will become available for the iPad Air.
I would imagine the iPhone. Well, for the iPad. Well, which iPad Air? The original iPad Air? Or?
Doesn't specify. But I know we don't really see hardware implementations at WWDC.
No.
But every time Apple does an event, somebody in the chat's asking if the iPad Air is ever going to make a comeback.
Probably not. I would say the iPad Air is done. They've kind of moved to this low-cost model for the entry-level iPad, and then there's the iPad Pros. That iPad Air, which I have, I'm a fan of too. Or I have the iPad Air 2. It's a good model, but I think they've kind of moved away from that.
But if we want to talk about earlier models that are getting shafted on new software updates, there's the how many thousands of dollars original gold watch.
Oh, right, the $15,000 Apple Watch, original Apple Watch, which will not get the new Apple Watch or Watch OS 5.
Yeah.
So sorry for all you 1%ers who
spent $17,000 on the watch.
Freaking fortune on a watch. It's now irrelevant. So sorry.
Woof. Let's take another look at this animoji because it's adorable but also kind of creepy. Roger, what was your experience like developing?
Well, to be fair, this is not an animoji.
Sorry, Memoji. Sorry,
this
I want to stay on brand.
This isn't the Apple one. This is the Samsung one. This is a Samsung AR emoji. They introduced this earlier this year with the Galaxy S9. They're probably a little bit annoyed right now that Apple decided to come out with Memoji, stealing its thunder a little bit. I don't know, the AR emoji just, I don't know, my kid does not look like this at all. Although he makes that smile sometimes, which is hilarious. But we thought it was a little creepy, it didn't really work as well. It gave me a man bun. My AR emoji had a man bun. I don't know how that even works. It didn't look at the back of my head. It just scanned the front of my head and just decided this guy needs a man bun.
I think it's because it saw into your soul and saw your deepest, darkest desires.
My deepest, darkest desire is to rock a man bun.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I can pull it off.
Clearly, Samsung thinks you can.
I know. So I guess Samsung knows me more than I know myself. But it's sort of a good example of what they'll look like. We tried the facial recognition on the GS9 for AR emojis. It kind of worked okay. It wasn't quite as accurate as the animojis, which definitely matched the movement of multiple parts of your face to the actual Animoji image. So we'll see how Memojis work. But I imagine they're going to work pretty well. I don't know. When I saw them on stage, I'm like, oh, that's cool, I guess. It's going to be one of those features where I'll probably end up using it for about a month, and then I'll just get tired of it.
How would you compare, from what you know about Samsung's product versus what they showed at WWDC, the ability to customize? Is there a big difference in between the two?
In terms of customizing the look of the Memoji, it's hard to tell because we didn't see that much from WWDC. It seemed like there were a decent amount of custom options. Samsung also offers the ability to customize things, but it's mostly clothes. And I think one of the things we knocked it on was it couldn't do like curly hair. So there were different aspects and features that hopefully Apple will remedy, but Samsung was kind of missing the first time around.
We have a similar question coming in as we're getting towards the end of the show here from Bill Harried. Do the changes to Siri bring it anywhere near Google Assistant and Alexa? We're kind of trudging down this path time and time again. And now kind of maybe meh.
I think it's still well behind.
Yeah.
And that's a shame because the HomePod's out there. I mean, it really relies on Siri to power your smart home, and it just isn't quite as responsive as an Echo or Alexa or Google Assistant.
Here's a good one from Josh Boyda. What's up, Josh? Good to see you again. Since Apple CarPlay is getting Google Maps support, does that mean you can set Google Maps as the default on the iPhone? Ooh, that's a good question.
I hope so. I don't know. It's kind of annoying. I tend to use like a universe of Google apps on my phone, which keeps me from switching to Apple Maps. So like my Gmail will link to my Google Maps. I would love it if Google Maps was your default, because Apple Maps I still don't really trust.
I don't trust it either.
Yeah.
And it is a hassle. And what is it? Usually in like a text message, someone sends you an address and it'll automatically default.
If you're definitely in one of those iOS core apps, it'll just default you, kicks you over to Apple Maps. You're like, no, I've got to escape back to home, switch to Google Maps. It's a little annoying.
But that means that Apple would have to open up its garden, its walled garden a little bit. I don't know
that's
how
not
likely.
really Apple's
It's
MO.
not its thing.
No.
Last time, if I recall right, there was a walled garden and an apple and like a snake, and it didn't go too well for everybody.
I'm gonna shy away from controversies, mostly because I'm super ignorant about that stuff.
Come on. I'm not trying to get proselytizing. It's just a funny reference. I thought it was clever.
Very clever.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian, you're the best.
Six Lewis points out that iOS 12 may have been disappointing for some, but at least it's coming to the iPhone 5S. Can't say the same for Android when Android P hits.
Yeah, no, I mean, I give Apple props for extending it to the 5S. I mean, that is one generation more than last year's version, so they're definitely offering more support, and hopefully that is an indicator that they're talking about performance and making this run a bit more efficiently. Works, because if it could work on a 5S as well as an iPhone 10, that's pretty impressive.
Agreed. I'll give them that much for now. One more from Bill Harried before we let everyone go for the day. Does Microsoft now own the rights to projects on GitHub? I'm not sure what he's referencing.
That's a good question. Microsoft just bought
Yeah.
GitHub. I don't think they own the rights to the projects themselves, right?
No, we didn't think
No.
Facebook owned our photos either. But
Yeah. I think it's similar. They own the hub for it, but I don't think they actually own the specific projects. Although don't quote us, we're not 100% sure, but I think that's kind of how it would work. But yeah,
kind of makes sense.
does make sense.
All right, we are just about out of time for the day, but it's so good to be back. Thank you guys. Roger Joan, it's nice to be back in the captain's chair here. I needed it. I missed it. And let's finally get back up on this horse.
All right. If you liked anything you saw or heard here, check us out on CNET. Our podcast is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, FeedBurner, Google Play, and the Amazon Alexa. Echo. Sorry, Amazon Echo. I almost got it all. Sorry, I will do better
clear all the
tomorrow.
cobwebs.
We'll do better tomorrow. Promise.
It'll take some time. All right, take care, everybody. See you tomorrow.